Hello everyone, so this is Law and Order True Crime episode 5, and it basically covers the first few weeks and months of the trial, and it ends sometime after August 17th, 1993. So, and it started roughly I want to say roughly just after the last episode. Um, so Um, anyway, so just basically going through the first few weeks and months of the trial, and everyone's witnesses and all that stuff. So um, we see Judge Stanley Weisberg, who is presiding over the Menendez case, driving to the courthouse. And here's the radio announcement braiding him for his performance on the King case, the Rodney King case that he had provided over. Um, and he is hearing an announcement about the king, his residement, I don't know, his um, basically his overall performance on that case, and how he shouldn't go to work today because he basically screwed up on that case. And so he gets all pissy and turns off the radio very forcefully, and he basically pisses all over Jill and Leslie, and the entire time they're, going through the case. And I want to point out that the guy who plays Stanley Weisberg is the same guy who played Dr. Mark Green on ER for about 7 or 8 seasons, for the first 7 or 8 seasons, um, before he ultimately died of a brain tumor. But which I mean, I liked him on that, but here I just want to punch him in the fucking face. I'm just like, you're getting pissy because you're getting annihilated in the press for your poor job as a judge in a previous case. So I'm just like, I mean, why are you? It doesn't make sense why he is being that pissy and being unprofessional and all that, and just basically cutting people off for no reason, or just because of the fact that he's pissy, and the fact that he screwed up on another case. That's not the way to do things, especially as a judge who has the fate of someone's either one person or two people's lives in their basically in their hands, so, or partly in their hands. So it really concerns me when a judge who acts like that, I mean, will basically just completely steamroll over a one side of a case, because they're having a bad day and they're pissy, and it's just like, it really is just like, what, WTF. It really is just like, what are you doing? um so Once in court, Garcetti asks for the cameras to be present during the entire trial, while Leslie doesn't. And so, while Weisberg doesn't allow actual video cameras from a news station to be present in the courtroom, he allows for a mounted camera in the courtroom. So once in his chambers, Leslie tries to lay out what she wants her defense to be, and Pam is not happy about it at all. But the one little glimmer of hope for Weisberg, which was quickly squandered by the end of the episode, was that he allows for Leslie to mount this defense, but he wants to make sure that he's convinced first before he allows the jury to completely, be told about it, or let the jury have that information when they deliberate. Um, so the following Monday they start jury selection. One potential juror that Leslie tries to object to, Weisberg allows. And then when Leslie questions another juror, a completely different juror, Weisberg makes a smart aleck remark, which again, he starting with this whole jury selection is when Weisberg just steamrolls over the defense and just acts so unprofessional, and to me shouldn't be allowed to practice law if you're going to be steamrolling over the fence, because they're allowed to a trial. So regardless of what the general population thinks of the defendant or defendants. So like I may have opinions all up and down the street, but I may assume, like, I may think that this person in an X case is guilty of sin, but they haven't been convicted of the crime yet. They haven't been found guilty, so I can't be sitting especially if the fate of the defendant's life is in the hands of a jury, not just because the defendant has the option to have a jury trial or just have the judge be the one to hear the entire case and then assign judgment, meaning that the judge is the sole person who will decide if the person is guilty or not a jury. I'm not sure exactly if that's under specific circumstances or if that's for everybody, but I know that that's an option, at least as far as some cases go. I'm not sure if that's the entirety of everyone in the United States, but yeah. So, and this is a jury trial, with two separate, and we see that there's a few minutes after that, we see, and on July 19th, that there are two juries, one for Lyle, who are wearing gold badges, and one for Eric, wearing blue badges. So they both had separate juries, just like both have separate attorneys. So and then both sides start to present their cases. So first witness we see is Craig. After the prosecution questions him, Leslie questions the truthfulness of his claims, because Craig says that Eric confessed to him. He's testifying at the moment, saying that Eric confessed to him a week and a half after the murders, but he initially told the police that it was 2 months after the fact. And so he's claiming that when the police narrowed down exactly when the computer expert came in, that's why he changed his story, from 2 months after the fact to 2 weeks after. Zoller is then seen, taking Goudreau and Glenn, I assume out of a strip club, but I don't know, so I'm not going to say for sure that's what it is. And so he basically tells them to say 3 simple words to get yourself out of trouble. I don't remember it. And that pissed me off. That really pissed me off. Because that's basically giving them an out and the option to backpedal after they've been caught in a lie. And I mean, basically, or basically, it's a way to backpedal when they have. Well, I guess haven't. I mean, it's basically to backpedal when they're they said one thing, but then they don't want to, you know, say it in court, and it's just like it's basically backpedaling out of lie, in my opinion. But anyway, um, so on July 26th, Goudreau starts testifying, and he says that he had never shared with Lyle the fact that he was abused as a child, and that Lyle never Lyle never confided in him by saying that, and Goudreau never confided in Lyle that he was abused. And he's like, I never told Glenn that either. So Jill is basically brings up the fact that the Rand interview that he gave, and Goudreau straight out lies and says, I don't remember saying that in the interview. Basically backpedaling. So Leslie tells Rand to do the right thing, and after being in court, and Rand releases the interview to the media. So Jill then brings the interview up the next day, and he's steadfast and continues to say he doesn't remember that interview. I'm just like, these people don't know, like, makes me mad as hell. So Glenn then gets up on the stand, says Goudreau never told him anything about the abuse, it was Rand who told him, and Jill catches him in a lie, saying that he just testified that he only supervised 5 people in the restaurant that Lyle asked him to run, but he put on his resume that he supervised 20 people. He claims it's an embellishment. And so Jill exposes another embellishment, with the fact that he wasn't class valedictorian. Just all sorts of just like stupidness, and but I don't think I'm gonna go through everyone who testifies. Well, I'm gonna name them. I'm gonna like, you know, I don't I'm not gonna, you know, I don't think I'm gonna go too into depth about it. But before I name the rest of the people, the Board of Ethics, I think, is threatening to pull Oziel's license when Judalon goes to them with information about how he forced her to have sex and take drugs. So he's all pissy about that. So later he testifies, and he's caught in a lie, especially about his billing practices and how he billed the boys for $1,300 for condolences, when he, like, it'd be one thing if, like, you know, the boys were actually at his office when he billed them, but they weren't. He went to them after their parents were killed, and he went to the hotel that they were staying at. So it's not like they went to him and were in his office. That I can understand, because at least, at least then I could somewhat see it. I mean, if I don't completely agree with it, but they did, like, okay. Anyway, so Leslie and Jill then, after that, wants to put Kitty and Jose's life on trial, but Wisely doesn't allow it, and allows the boys' lives to be on trial. Marta then testifies, talks about a few things that she's seen when the boys were growing up, and then on August 17th of that year, Andy, the boy's cousin, um, tells the jury about in a time that he and I assume Eric were playing, and Eric told him about how his father was molesting how his father was molesting him and all that. Diane then testifies and basically says the same thing about Lyle and how, like, he came up to her and basically wanted to play and touch her down there. So she again recounts that she tried to tell Kitty. Kitty called her a liar and basically never talked about it anymore. And then as Jill tries to continue questioning her, Weisberg interrupts and says he's heard of enough of the minutia because they're beating a dead horse. I'm just like, really? I mean, you're getting fucking pissy for whatever reason, and I mean, I guess it's not really the fact that he stopped the defense team from continuing with the questioning line of questioning. So I guess it's the way he said it and how he was all pissy about it. I think that's what my issue with it was that he was all pissy about that shit. And it's like, yeah, you may think that, I mean, I feel like he should have just let them continue for a little bit until all their witnesses were done with, and then he could have, gave his ruling about it, but he didn't. It's just like, let's, anyway, so, after that whole thing, Leslie's mom dies after her earlier heart attack, and then after the funeral, she gets verbally accosted by one of her mother's neighbors, a married couple. So, yeah, that is the entire episode. Like I said, I really just wanted to I mean, it's still pretty interesting. I mean, obviously because the prosecution is going for the death penalty, as far as I remember. Like, the prosecution is going for the death penalty, and from what I read online, the boys are still alive and in jail. So I can't really, okay, maybe not, they're not boys anymore, but the Menendez brothers are not, they're not, they haven't been executed, so they're still alive and well and in prison. So there's that. So I know that, I at least know that the prosecution's hope for the death penalty isn't hold up. It doesn't go anywhere with that hope doesn't go anywhere. So that's the only thing I know for certain. But yeah, and okay, so just a little update about the future shows. I thought Chicago Med was coming on this week, but it's not. It's coming on November 21st. So it is coming on this month. It's just not when I thought it was. So it's coming on, I think, the week um, before. I think the week before Vikings comes back on. I think it comes on the week before Vikings comes back on. Yeah, it comes on the week before Vikings because that's a Tuesday and Vikings comes on a Wednesday, so that's a week before Vikings comes on. Okay. Um. So yeah, that's like less than 3 weeks or less than 3 weeks now that it's coming back on. Okay. Um. But yeah, I thought it was, for some reason, because I kept seeing posts on both Instagram and Facebook about that show and how it's like there's gonna be a crossover or something like that, and I was just confused as to like why are they showing. I mean, because usually when they have the hashtag one day or one Chicago or something like that with all three cast members of all the cast members of three shows in one picture, it usually means that there's going to be a crossover or something like that. So I was confused as to why they were showing that like 3 week so soon um, if it wasn't this week. So um, yeah. But I am still gonna do that one because I like the show. Um, Maybe I'll pick up Chicago PD again. Starting this, starting this week. Yeah, maybe I'll pick it up this week again. Um, Maybe I don't know. I might do Chicago Fire though because I like that show, and I didn't start watching that one until um this year. I didn't start watching that show until this year. I watched all the other Chicago shows first, and then started watching the Chicago Fire. And then I went over the summer. I went back and watched all of the previous seasons of Chicago Fire, and I love it. So I might do Chicago Fire um, instead. So um, So yeah, I think that's what I'll do is just to get some more videos up and all that. So until then, I will see you guys tomorrow because I'm not putting up episode 6 of True Crime until tomorrow. So until tomorrow, I will see you guys later.